thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Briefing.
The Amona settlement was finally evacuated, with nearly every one of the 250-plus residents having been removed from the outpost. Amona was given Tuesday morning a 48-hour notice to leave by midnight last night. A dozen or so protesters still remain barricaded inside the synagogue and a mobile home, but police forces are working with them to come out peacefully, though force is being considered should the standoff last long enough. Yesterday's evacuation shows a markedly different scene to that of the 9 demolitions that took place in 2006 at the same settlement. Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer Oded Balalti, who covered both the 2006 engagement and yesterday's, described the difference as practically night and day. In 2006, he said, there was a real hate of the establishment. There was rock throwing, police on horseback, and violence. Last night, the worst to be seen was of police dragging protesters away from their homes. Still not pretty, but certainly not violent. The protests restarted in Amona when they were given the notice to leave without the government ensuring they would have a place to go. Half the residents will be relocated to the settlement of Ofra as planned, but the other half, which was promised housing on a nearby hilltop, have been left in the cold, as the government reneged on their side of the deal, stating a nearby outpost would face the same illegality as Amona. Prime Minister Netanyahu said yesterday that he would start an all-new settlement in the West Bank to replace Amona, should efforts to save the outpost fail, which clearly they have. It would be the first new officially sanctioned settlement in 25 years. The Palestinian Authority is demanding that the United Nations Security Council take action against Israel for what they said was an extreme barrage of illegal behavior over the last 10 days. UN Ambassador Riyad Mansour said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's recent decision to build 6,000 new homes in Judea and Samaria is unprecedented, exceeding the number for all of 2016. Dani Danon, Israel's ambassador to the UN, hit back at the Palestinians, criticizing the repeated attempts to spread lies about Israel. The settlement's issues was also slammed by EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini. She said yesterday that the European Union deeply regrets that Israel's proceeding with this, despite the continuous, serious international concern and objections which have been constantly raised at all levels. She added that the settlements pose a direct challenge to the prospects of a viable two-state solution. A political cartoon on the Mideast conflict that appeared last week on a Global Studies New York State Regents exam sparked cries of anti-Israel propaganda from some lawmakers, teachers, and students. The cartoon depicts 3 fat, armed Israeli soldiers using an overturned table as a shield, with one of them saying, "I knew this peace table would come in handy someday." The question on the multiple-choice exam is, what is the main idea of this cartoon? Assemblyman Dov Hikind says the cartoon demeans Israel with its portrayal of the soldiers, one of whom has a Star of David on his back, since they're seen as aggressive and oafish. A state education department spokesman defended the question, saying it measures the students' abilities to analyze a political cartoon, understand the cartoonist's point of view, and apply that information to the questions being asked. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is scheduled to fly to London next week, where he will meet with British Prime Minister Theresa May. The meeting on Monday will be the first between the two since May took office in July. The last meeting scheduled between the two leaders was cancelled in December as part of Netanyahu's response to Britain voting in favor of UN Security Council Resolution 2334, which condemned any Israeli presence over the 1967 lines as illegal, including the Western Wall. May issued an unprecedented rebuke several days later towards U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, following his speech blaming Israel for the lack of progress in the peace process. Britain also sent a low-level diplomat to the Paris Peace Conference as an observer to indicate its displeasure with the proceedings. With strained relations finally easing, a symbol of the détente between Turkey and Israel has finally come to fruition as Israeli Foreign Ministry officials travel to Ankara to meet their Turkish counterparts. Ties between Turkey and Israel fell to the wayside after a 2010 skirmish between Israeli naval blockade forces and a Turkish Gaza-bound flotilla bent on breaking the blockade. 10 Turkish nationals were killed in the Mavi Marmara incident after they attacked IDF troops. The reconciliation process restarted in 2013, though, and was finalized with official agreements signed in the summer of 2016. In a joint Turkish-Israeli statement released yesterday, officials said all pertinent bilateral issues were reviewed, and especially cooperation in such areas as energy, economy, culture, and tourism. Both sides have agreed to enhance cooperation on the said issues through exchanges of ministerial visits, high-level business, academic and cultural delegations, starting with the upcoming visits of the Turkish Minister of Culture and Tourism and the Turkish Minister of Economy to Israel.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.